Welcome back. Today I want to talk to you about burnout. Two things that we want to do to avoid diet burnout is have a variety of foods and a regular schedule. Our bodies have natural rhythms, natural cycles. We want our exercise to work with those cycles. The more you can do your exercise at the same time on the same days, the better. If you were only eating kale, pretty soon you'd be pretty sick of kale, you'd be hungry, you'd look at the kale and you wouldn't want it. And what do you do at that point? Do you just not eat or do you go off your diet? The more nutrient dense your diet is, the less often you're going to feel burnout, the less hungry you're going to feel. The less likely your brain is to look at that food and say, nah, I don't want that. Let's go get a cheeseburger. Remember that fitness and weight loss is a discipline. While we train our bodies, we train our minds. It took a lot of repeated negative behavior to get overweight and stay there. So we want to build new habits, and the way that we do this is the same way that we beat burnout, with repeated good behaviors. I used to drive 30 miles to work round trip. Every day I started that drive out exactly the same. I backed out of my parking space, rode down that alley, made a right turn on the side street, passed the first side street, made a right on the boulevard, and that got me to the highway. Every once in a while, I would get in my car to go somewhere else. I would back out of my parking space, go down that alley, make a right turn, pass the first side street, make a right turn onto the boulevard that got me to the highway. And then without thinking about it, I would start driving to work. Halfway there, I'd be like, wait a second, I'm not going to work, and I'd have to get off the highway, turn around, and go back the other way. The more that you repeat behavior, the more that your brain gets used to doing it, to the point where your brain will do it all on its own. We can use this to our advantage. It's all about discipline and the way that we think. On the diet, you might have a day where you're low energy. Think about a time when you weren't on the diet. You've had these days before. You maybe got into work on Monday morning and said something like, I was so tired, I slept all day Saturday. I guess I needed some rest. It's not because of the diet. Don't let your brain think that way. These points of low energy happen to us whether we're on the diet or not. It's what I was saying before about the body's natural rhythms and cycles. Do not wake up and say, oh man, I'm out of energy, this diet's getting to me. Say something more along the lines of, whoa, I'm low energy today. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to get great exercise, but I'm going to go out and do it anyway. And then go out and get the exercise that your body rhythm will allow you to do on a day like this. You want the diet to be all positive. Negativity just doesn't work as well. How many times have you beaten yourself up for eating that brownie that you shouldn't have eaten? It pretty rarely stops you from eating a brownie the next time. It just makes you feel like shit. You can only call yourself a piece of shit so many times before you actually feel like a piece of shit. Every time that you feel that burnout, but you say, you know what, I'm gonna get my exercise anyway, you're destroying bad habits and building good ones. And the best thing about it is that every single time you do it, it gets easier next time. The example I like to use is the half an hour before bed peckish scenario. It's a half an hour before you're about to go to bed. You've had all the calories that you're going to have for the day, but you're feeling just a little bit peckish. You walk into the kitchen and there's that leftover brownie. You've counted perfectly. You already know that you burned 1,000 calories today. You're still doing pretty good if you ate that brownie. Right now, I want you to think of a couple things that make you happy, things that make you smile involuntarily. My sons don't live with me anymore. So in this scenario where you've got the munchies and you've got the brownie there in the kitchen, I want you to leave the room and immediately change what you're thinking about. Start thinking about that thing that makes you happy. Have those things ready in your mind so that you're not walking out of the room thinking, don't think about the brownie, don't think about the brownie. Leave the room thinking about your friends, your kids, your spouse, your partner, whatever it is that makes you happy. The best thing that you can do at that point is something at least slightly active. For me, every time I felt that, I would go for a walk. This repeated good behavior replaced the bad behavior. All that talk about brownies made me want to go for a walk. The last thing I want to tell you is that it has to do with trigger, behavior, and reward. In this case, the trigger is having the munchies and knowing that the brownie is there. The behavior is eating the brownie, and the reward is the deliciousness of the brownie. You don't think about how that reward only lasts a couple seconds. But when you successfully pass on that brownie and maybe go outside for a walk, I want you to reward yourself. Pretty soon you get to the point where you recognize that the reward of the brownie isn't that great. I got to the point where I thought, yeah, brownie is yummy. Yummy is not enough anymore. Yummy is not the reward that my brain craves. Our mental training and discipline is just like our diet, slow and steady. When you try to break a bad habit all at once, it commonly does not work. Every chance you get, consciously crush bad behaviors, create new behaviors, and don't forget to reward yourself for your successes and efforts. So we want a variety of nutrient-dense foods, and we want a schedule that works with our body's natural rhythms and cycles. We want to build new neural pathways by breaking old habits and creating new good habits. And we always reward ourselves for these successes in a positive way. Thank you so much for joining me. See you next week. And now, to prove that I know what I'm talking about, I am shirtless for no reason.